And everybody knows that Chardonnay is white folks' Kool-Aid.
Witches.
I just want to send a special message to a very special woman in my life. You know exactly who you are, but if you're unsure, let me just say, when I drink white wine, I think of you.
A 3D necklace that spells out your name?
Well, you never know when somebody might forget.
Yeah, and why waste your precious breath reminding them when you have a precious gold-plated nameplate?
I need to understand black woman.
How do I get my black woman to want to be with me?
Just accept her on her terms and be honest.
I like you. No, I mean, I like hanging out with you, Chardonnay. I'd give my last box of anything to anyone. So don't tell me I'm not doing my part. I'm going above and beyond to prove that I want to be here.
The sellout dude who only dates white women married a real hood black woman.
I don't have anything against black women. Some of my best friends' wives are black women. My daughter is black.
Chardonnay, my office.
Chardonnay? That is awesome. Fancy Chardonnay.
Look at you.
Chardonnay.
You know Jason Pitts knew how to do the cabbage patch?
Oh, please. Cabbage patches. Eat snakes.
Oh, what? Okay.
Eat cabby, snaky patches. I really care about you. Try to make something real.
Jason, I'm sorry. It's just that my bull radar is just off the charts right now.
Why? I can stand here and tell you everything that you want to hear, but the reality is you have to let me show you instead. Come here.
Jason,
Just come here. Char, we need to remember why we got in this relationship in the first place. And I want to do that by giving you the wedding you've always deserved. Chardonnay Pitts, will you marry me? Chardonnay.
Back up, bitch, and hand me my Chardonnay.
Hi.
I just want you to know I am not here to get in your way.
Hey.
Don't mind me. I'm just being redundant. I'm trying to bond with my bestie. Excuse me. Move.
Hey, Miss Pitts.
Yes?
Sorry. It's force habit. Jason didn't pay him off. I did.
You're welcome. This is none of your business.
Jason's business will always be my business.
Oh.
As long as I am the mother of his child.
Here we go.
I have to protect the legacy of my family.
No, he was actually in Kelly Pitts' hotel room to the break of dawn doing only God knows what.
I kissed Kelly. I can't do this. I'm still in love with Kelly. It was a tight slap driven up and across the left nostril, creating this popping sound. Look, no blood, no, but a deep redness.
Hey, speaking of wanting to slap somebody, and me and Jason, we don't just have beef. We got bisons and chickens and horses and pigs and E-I-E-I-O. What up? I'm here to serve you divorce papers. Everything you got. Because see, Chardonnay is not on an apology tour. Honey, I'm on a kiss my ass tour. And Jason Pitts is the headliner, okay? Yes. Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Jason.
This week, our next stop is back at the house of Pitts. But this time, Mrs. Pitts looks a little bit different. She must have had some work done. In this week's video, The Problem with the Pitts Part 2 of 3, we're exploring the fallout from Jason and Kelly's divorce, Jason's new marriage to Chardonnay Pitts, and the impact on the game, their friendships, relationships, and overall family dynamic, especially little Miss Brittany. We have a lot to get into, so let's get started. Thank you for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to Chats and Chill. I'm your host, Sharion and Sade, and today we're going to be discussing The Problem with the Pitts, Part 2. Now, when we left off, we discussed Jason and Kelly breaking up after Jason tried to pimp Kelly out to the Sabers' new GM to secure a contract. What I didn't tell you is that he did secure that contract. That must have been some dance that Kelly gave that GM, but it was more than enough of a reason for her to walk away, and she did. Now, he tried to woo her back in the moment. First, he tried with humor. Then he started to panic when he realized his usual shtick was not getting through to her. And that is because she was done. She just wasn't hearing anything Baldylocks had to say, and I do not blame her. In the problem with the Pitts part 1, we discussed Jason's need to feel needed. When Jason doesn't feel like the people in his life need him or the team he plays for, he begins to question his own worth and his own value. This then spawns those extreme money-saving practices such as closing the refrigerator before you get what you need out of it so that you don't let out the cold air, turning off the AC in the summer months in California, not buying fruit, but forcing Kelly to grow a garden so they can have free fruit. Now, if that were Kelly's hobby, that would be a great hobby that saved money. But forcing her to do manual labor so you can save 30 cents on an apple is crazy to me. But again, it made sense to Jason because it wasn't about being a provider. It was about feeling needed. And those are two very different things with two very different distinctive traits. A provider provides from a place of abundance. They take care of you. They essentially give you the soft life or at least contribute greatly to it. They make sure that the things that they can handle, they do without having to be asked twice. And they do so joyfully. A person who wants to feel needed, it's all about control. A person who wants to feel needed or has to feel needed usually only gives you just enough to keep you satiated, and sometimes they'll even give you just below that to keep you yearning. You're so focused on the next little bit of drop of generosity that you're not focusing on the fact that they're not giving you what you want. They're only giving you enough to keep you where you are. Or as some would say, they're giving you enough to keep your fine ass in Gucci and gold. Now, as far as a provider, it's important to make the distinction that a provider doesn't have to be rich. A provider just has to be generous, loving, and considerate. A real provider takes pride in seeing those who lean on them doing well and thriving. A person who wants to feel needed needs you to continue suckling at the teat, and they will give it to you sparingly so that you'll always stay there with bated breath and your hands out waiting for the next little bitty teensy bit of generosity. And let's be clear, it's not generosity, it's scraps. It's the bare minimum, and usually just below the bare minimum. They give you just enough that they can take care of you and keep you where you are, but more than what you would be able to provide for yourself. So you always see the benefit, but you don't necessarily clock the selfishness.
I appreciate the gesture, Jason, but it's too late.
This isn't about money. It's about you always trying to control me. You're trying to drag me back with money. It's still control. I want to leave and you can't let that happen.
All right, tell me what to do to prove I love you, Kelly, because I'm really trying.
Then you just need to stop, Jason.
And providers don't just provide financially, although that is a byproduct of the whole being. They provide in a multitude of ways. Their love, their effort, their energy, they're considerate. They provide what's needed and then some in abundance because the goal is to create a harmonious and loving life. Now, something I noticed about Jason, he is the perfect example of how you do anything is how you do everything. He did the bare minimum. Several times we saw Kelly ask Jason for money and he would always rebuff her requests. But the moment Kelly left, he was all too happy to spend frivolously. This man bought 3 luxury vehicles in one day and then filled them up with retail items from these high-priced stores that Kelly didn't even like. That's how you know it wasn't about getting Kelly back and making Kelly happy and finally hearing Kelly. It was about controlling her with money, and I was so happy she clocked it. The moment she decided to leave, he decided to woo her back with money, and it wasn't about getting his wife back to make a better life for them both. It was about getting her to fall back in line. And she clocked it and moved forward with the divorce anyway. And good for her. He was trying to control her either with money or control her in the divorce with money. Either way, he wanted those strings attached, and he did his damnedest to puppeteer Kelly.
I don't want my life to be this way. And I know I made a lot of mistakes. I know I did, but I'm trying to fix them. Because I love Kelly. I really do. And I know she loves me back. My heart can't take it, man. I'm begging you. Please don't take them away from me. What's this? Divorce papers. So what, so you set me up, you slept with me so you could serve me? If I leave here with these papers, I am not coming back.
I know.
I'm having a really, really hard time letting you go.
I'm just trying to move on.
Then when they got into the divorce negotiations, this man tried to use her relationship with her new boyfriend, Joe. Mind you, Kelly had also caught him with a woman, Jazz, who later went on to marry Javon. And that engagement is my favorite engagement on the show. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. Yes, ma'am. She looked at Melanie and said, girl, out of all the football players we've been through, I said, ooh,
I'm pregnant. told you, Vaughn.
Later, Melanie tries to judge Jazz based on her history messing around with NFL players, and everybody's like, Melanie, did you forget about Trey Wiggs and Derwin and climbing in the bed with Malik?
Instead of getting drunk on the champagne, she decided to get drunk on the magic stick.
Serving lasagna, not ass.
Melanie, you don't want to throw no stones now. Your house is looking a little bit fragile.
Look at me, I'm funny before 10, okay?
Aside from that, Jazz was messing around with Jason for a spell, and Kelly and Brittany walked in on them together. The only thing that was able to stop Jason's tirade against Kelly was when she finally threatened his ass with revealing he was doing steroids. And then he wanted to back off. He wasn't worried about keeping his family together. He was just worried about being in control. And the moment she threatened his position in the NFL, then he wants to give her what she wants. But you couldn't have done that from the beginning, because even Malik pointed out what she's asking for isn't even that much.
This is some lose your career mess, man. Everything you done worked hard for. Your squeaky clean image, your endorsements, and now what, your shoulder strain?
Jason, are you crazy?
Jail be worth it for crushing his skull. What the hell are you doing with my wife, man?
Don't let a woman ruin you. And don't go out like this.
I hear you, man. Do it.
Jason wasn't worried about keeping his family happy or keeping his family together. He just didn't want to feel like he was losing, something that his father clocked about his ass.
I'm not forcing myself on anybody. I'm here fighting for my family that I love.
Oh, you don't give a damn about love. You just don't want to lose. But all this digging in your heels and standing on your high horse, you ain't doing it but hurting your daughter.
Okay, well, thanks for the pep talk, Dad. I appreciate it.
Look, son. Look, I know this is rough for you. But if you love someone, set them free.
He called him on it, and I was so happy he did. And I'm also happy Kelly pooted on that cupcake. So let's jump forward a little bit. They start dating other people. Kelly had already been dating Joe, but Jason hemmed his ass up outside of a hotel. He almost gets arrested, and Joe skedaddles out of there. But Jason then starts dating another woman, Camille. She's a sports news broadcaster, and she's played by Stacey Dash back when she was black. I completely forgot that Stacey Dash used to be black. I can only remember her buffoonery since then. But she looked so good on this show. She looked absolutely stunning. I was like, what a shame whatever happened to that lady. They just put her brain in a blender and said, go. They're dating now, and Jason is dating a black woman. Kelly is very bothered because she never expected Jason to, one, date a black woman, and she panics when Malik throws an engagement party for Derwin and Melanie and their poppy seed ring. They all invite their spouses except for Kelly because she didn't realize that Jason was dating anybody.
Kelly, this is Camille. Camille, this is Kelly.
Hi. Like your skin. It's so dark. I mean, lovely.
Blame my parents. They're black.
Oh, congratulations.
I've never run into someone I thought I was spending forever with, and he was with someone else. That would probably be the first time that I felt, who the hell is this heifer? I might have that feeling, but I damn sure wouldn't speak or act on it. Now, Kelly handled it as best she could, but complimenting that woman's skin, I said, woo, her mama jumped out, didn't she? Kelly is her mother's child. Then Kelly decides to invite her new boyfriend, Roman. He owns a couple of gyms, and he's played by Jason Momoa. Now, Roman was an ass from the very beginning. I could smell it on him. And they got sexual really quickly. They were being very sexual very fast. And I mean, they were at like honeymoon phase type of behavior. It's high intensity. They're having a lot of sex. They're also at her house alone often. He also later revealed they were sleeping together in gas station bathrooms. They also slept together in Malik's bathroom during his engagement party for the poppy seed ring and Derwin and Melanie. It's a lot. Now, again, Kelly is an adult woman, but I don't think she's using the most discretion with not just this person, but with her behavior. But later, Jason asks Kelly how would she feel if he introduced Camille to Brittany. Now, this was concerning for me, not because of the way he handled it. I thought the way Jason handled it was excellent. I thought it was great that he asked Kelly, that he went into it consciously and with intention. But I also questioned the timing. First of all, we're still in the middle of season 3. They don't even sign their divorce papers until the last episode of season 3. I mean, that man popped champagne and Kelly was crying. I remember this like it was yesterday. So they still had some time to go before they were officially divorced. So there's already a question about why introduce Brittany now to anybody. Y'all aren't even officially divorced. But then two, At this point, he and Camille are serious enough. You're not spending nearly enough time with this woman to determine that she needs to cross paths with Brittany right now. Why couldn't that have waited a couple more months? And I do understand Kelly questioning that. Now, when it comes to Roman, she and Roman hadn't been together the same amount of time as Camille and Jason, and they weren't nearly as serious as Kelly let us know. But she was seeing Roman, and she let Roman know out the gate, you cannot meet my daughter right now. I still want to make sure that things are good, and I want to just ease my way into this. That is a really great way to go about it. He doesn't give a damn. He shows up to Brittany's soccer game anyway. First of all, the fact that he knew where it was. Now, I don't know about San Diego, but I live in North Texas. I know this. There are so many fields where these kids have all kinds of soccer games and baseball games and basketball games. There's so many arenas all over the city. You could be anywhere. It's going to take some doing to get this information and then get the directions and then get there. Roman had none of this information from Kelly herself. So already I'm concerned as to how did you acquire this information, Roman? And the fact that you went through all this to go see a child that the parents told you not to come see. I was already thinking, oh, this is a predator. This is a predator. Later, when she thought Brittany was no longer within earshot, she confronted him about why did he overstep the boundary. If you're going to have a conversation like this, do not have this kind of conversation in private or where you and your daughter are vulnerable. Go have this conversation in public. As a matter of fact, what I would have done, because my ex-husband was there and because he asked me to introduce Camille to my daughter and I said yes, this would have been the moment I inducted Camille into our little blended family, because I would have said, okay, you and me, we finna go jump him in the parking lot because he did what I told his ass not to do. If you want to be in this family, you're going to have to learn to stomp him out, tear him up. I would have absolutely said, let's just jump him. He then gets kind of irate. He starts being very intimidating to Kelly. He starts being forceful, overstepping boundaries in the moment. He starts getting hypersexual and angry in the moment. And he's clearly beside himself because he starts calling her names and Brittany. And something I love about this scene is Brittany knew danger was imminent. So she preemptively called her father, who showed up and handled business immediately. He didn't come over there and say, you shouldn't have brought that man back to your house. He didn't come over there and say, that's what you get for having a man in my house. He didn't say any of that. He said, let me take care of business. Let me keep my family safe. And then we'll hash out the rest of that shit later. He was a man. He took care of business. A man who protects his home is always going to get kudos from me.
Now, usually I say violence is not the answer, but it's not never the answer. It is rarely the answer, but on such occasions when yourself, your family, your loved ones are in danger, you absolutely better pull out that fist and go to work. And maybe even a baton, a pistol whipping, a stomping out, whatever is necessary in the moment. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I do leave space in my heart for just a little tinge of toxic, but only when it's necessary. Yeah, I would have folded. We would have had a 2-time double bag.
Now, Roman also decided to go press official assault charges against Jason, who then got arrested. Now, once Jason got arrested, Kelly went with him to the jailhouse and she visited him and she was emotional. And you could see that this moment kind of forced them to face the lack of intimacy between them, because this is the first time we've seen them do anything that wasn't either arguing or that very professional, very rigid kind of communication you do with someone when you're trying to figure out your new normal. This is a moment where we just see Jason and Kelly again, and they're being very intimate with one another. Kelly is crying and he is comforting her, and she is so grateful that he protected her, but she's also feeling immense guilt because she's the reason Roman came around. It wasn't her fault. She had no way of knowing that man was a psychopath, and her assessment of keeping him away from Brittany was actually the right assessment to make. So she did the best she could, but there are just some assholes out here. And you can never be too safe. She did her best and Jason took care of the rest. And that's how a partnership should work, whether you're married or not. Now, Jason he's cool. He is running things in the prison. Everybody's a Sabers fan. They're in San Diego. So he's all right. He doesn't really care. But they go to the judge on Monday and Kelly stands beside him. She's there for him. And it's just him and Kelly. But when he leaves, who's in the hallway? Camille. And it was this moment that Kelly realized that this was permanent. The wheels she set in motion were permanent. This is just life. I've seen people talk about this scene a couple of times and talk about, oh, well, now she regret getting a divorce and now next time she'll think twice and blah, blah, blah. I actually think this is just one of those moments in life that aren't good, bad, right, or wrong. it's just life. Sometimes life just hits you with a haymaker and it's really nothing you can do about it. Sometimes we do what's necessary and it still hurts. Doing the right thing still stings at times. It's not always going to be just rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes we do what needs to be done and the shit still sucks. And it just has to be that way. In this moment, although she was likely regretting the divorce, I still think the divorce was the only necessary route to go, because out of all the good that he's shown her in these last couple of months as a divorcee or a pre-divorcee, he was an asshole to her for 7 years and didn't care about her well-being until she ended up in a hospital. And then even then, he didn't create better provisions for her at home. So it was important for her to remember the whole Jason and not just the white knight Jason.
So the show takes a 2-year hiatus as it switches networks from the CW to BET. And as a matter of fact, it was officially canceled, but the fans, a la me and a whole bunch of other people, protested, and it came back after BET picked it up. And so we pick up in season 4.
Just like and dip, and dip, and dip, and dip, and pits, and pits, and pits, and pits, and pits.
On BET, Jason and Camille have broken up. Kelly is trying to create a whole new reality TV show persona. She is now going by Kelly Devereaux, and she has a show that is a reality show called Ex-Ballers Wives. She and Jason go back and forth for the whole season 4 about it. It's a whole thing. And her whole persona is raunchy. She's essentially just becoming this whole new person in response to who she couldn't be with Jason. She makes a full-on pivot to the most extreme opposite that she could. We later see she finds balance after going on a self-help journey or a self-discovery journey. We see that Brittany kind of gets lost in the mix. Throughout season 4, 5, and 6, Brittany is kind of an afterthought. Kelly leaves her for 3 years to live in France. She stays with Jason, who takes a year off of work to spend one-on-one time with her. But the show needs him to come back as a correspondent, and I believe it's called The Pit Stop. And so he takes a very large offer and pretty much dumps Brittany onto her grandparents. So she's going back and forth between her dad's house and her grandparents, and she barely sees her mom. Her behavior, her attitude, her whole disposition becomes way more defiant, and that's probably directly related to the fact that her parents are not only divorcing, but her norm is changed forever. She doesn't actually have a norm because there's nothing but dysfunction, change, and challenges that surround her. We see that she falls into smoking weed. We see that she has contention with Tasha and everyone else, and Jason just keeps pawning her off on people. But we see they do find balance right around the time that he meets Chardonnay.
So then Jason goes to a bar called Drop Bar one night, and he and the waitress there, played by Brandy, her name is Chardonnay, he and the waitress end up getting into it, and he's pretty much throwing his weight around. He's being very unreasonable with this bartender, and she's holding her ground. She's holding her own. She's not letting him walk all over her.
Hey, excuse me, barkeep. And looking thirsty, with his finger in the air. Hello, hi, how you doing?
Excuse me, sir, but you're gonna have to wait your turn like everybody else.
Perhaps you just arrived here from some remote corner of Africa or the island of Jamaica. I'm Jason Pitts, just to come in here and pay for overpriced drinks served by sassy-ass neck-rolling bartenders. Respect the hand that pays for your bus pass, woman, and get me a beverage.
You know what? Get out.
The service is reprehensible, and the Four Seasons is remodeling their lobby bar.
Yeah. Chardonnay, my office.
Chardonnay? That is awesome. That's perfect. Ta-ta, Chardonnay.
So then he finds her at a bus stop, and to apologize, he decides to take her on a night out. She is not happy with him, but she goes on the night out, and he wakes up the next morning in Mexico married to her. They have fun, they get drunk, it's a whole thing. But because they're drunk, as a prank, because he got her fired, she marries him. So the next morning they wake up in a hotel, and I believe it's Tijuana, and she tells them the whole story, and they agree to just get the marriage annulled once they get back to the US. But as they spend more time together, they realize that they actually like each other a lot. Jason makes it a point to tell her how much he likes Black women and that the misconceptions about him not liking Black women are untrue, and they are only there because he was married to a white woman. But it doesn't mean he doesn't date Black women at all. He also dated Camille. He also points out that one of the things that he had as a hang-up growing up was when he would pursue Black women, they would reject him because he wasn't interested in the same types of things that the other young Black men were interested in at the time, or the young Black boys were interested in at the time. I loved Chardonnay's response to this. While she was compassionate, she was very clear, like, bullying happens to everybody, and you can't hold that against everyone. You have to process that so that you're not letting your pain control you. And she was absolutely right. There is nothing wrong with interracial dating, but if you are intentionally excluding an aspect of your community from your dating life because of some trauma you experienced as a kid, you should process that. So they end up building a little bit of a friendship. She introduces him to her friends, and he starts to feel accepted by his own community for the first time. But it's then after spending time with her friends that he starts to realize just how racist the world is. Now, Jason has always been very shielded and protected from racism because of his money. His dad was rich. He was rich. He's always been in the NFL. People have always been kissing his ass. And he has had a very different experience than the typical black man who isn't famous or who isn't rich. He has been having a very different experience. And so once they kind of open his eyes to some of the things they experience, he starts to see racism everywhere. And he goes back to Chardonnay to talk to her because he's like, did you put a spell on me? He exposes him to what reality is like for a non-rich, non-famous black man. And he is surprised. He's kind of beside himself. But what it does is it causes him to challenge a lot of the stereotypes he believes about his own people. It causes him to explore introspectively about his own inherent beliefs and his biases. And he comes out on the other side, in my opinion, a better man. Seems to be a lot less of an asshole in Chardonnay's presence. Just her being herself made him a better man. They start spending more time together now, and she starts to like him too, but she protects herself because she just feels like he's not serious about me. He's going to have to prove that he's serious about me, but he is actually falling for Chardonnay. He starts wanting to date her for real, and eventually they stay married, and they even try to get remarried. We'll get there. But throughout their time together, Chardonnay deals with Brittany and they build a little bond together. Chardonnay deals with Kelly. Kelly returns and is throwing her weight around. And it's clear that they have different ways of viewing the world and different ways of viewing morality. And that comes to a head when Jason's steroid use is outed and he is posed with the opportunity to come clean or simply just die with a lie. And Chardonnay recommends that he just tell the truth and get it off his back. But Kelly decides to go and pay off the person who was trying to extort Jason and gets him out of it. And he falls back in love with Kelly because he feels like she truly understands him. Kelly also notes the changes in Jason, and that's thanks to Chardonnay. She mentions how Jason is a lot more nice and a lot more kind and not as cheap and controlling. He just seems like a more well-rounded individual. And she even says, I have Chardonnay to thank for that. And something about that just felt so... Now, when Jason and Chardonnay eventually fell in love and decided to stay together, he bought her a spa. He finally bought her Chardonnay. And then he returned to playing for the Sabers because he had a really great practice with Malik. They got that old thing back. And the Sabers signed him to a 1-year contract. So it gave him an opportunity to pursue getting another ring, this time without using steroids. And he was very determined. He had a chip on his shoulder about the steroid use. And he always felt like his Super Bowl win wasn't a real win. So he wanted to pursue it again from a new angle as a clean man, even though he was 2 years older and had been retired for a while, so that body was still sore. Now, Chardonnay was now in her new spa. She was working really hard and she really grew the spa to be this really great business. But Jason seemed to think it was a hobby. I don't like the way he continuously belittled her dreams in the same way he belittled Kelly. Now, here's the kicker. She had dated retired Jason. But now she's meeting football Jason, and football Jason is the one we knew with Kelly. He was domineering, he was nasty, he was snarky, he was controlling, he was rude. He really treated Chardonnay poorly. When she came home late one night from working in the spa, this man was sitting at the table with an empty plate, an empty glass, and a knife and a fork, pretending to eat invisible food to prove the point that she should have had her ass home in time to make his dinner.
I'm sitting here 2 hours past the time you told me you'd be home, trying to imagine what a delicious meal would taste like if my wife would have been home in time to make it. Need salt. Chardonnay. When I bought your little hobby for you, I thought we had an understanding that it wasn't going to interfere with your responsibilities here at home. You're my wife. You need to make it with salt. So are a cook and a housekeeper, but if I hire them, what do I need you for?
I was really surprised that he said it in the way that he said it. I was like, whoa, we've seen him be controlling with Kelly, but he talked to Chardonnay like she was like nothing. But then Chardonnay pushed back because Chardonnay didn't play those games. And I actually love that about her. She stood up for herself, and whether or not she stands up for herself, he still shouldn't be speaking to her that way. Whether she can give it back or what have you, he still shouldn't be speaking to her that way. And so he gets upset and basically says, when you're done with your hobby, you need to be at home in time to cook my food. Jason would have got left. The next day, Chardonnay is working and Tasha stops by and Chardonnay says, I have to get home early. I'm trying to make sure I'm home in time to cook Jason's food. So even though she pushed back, she was still trying to make the adjustment. I don't mind people working together. That's part of life. When you live with someone, especially someone you're married to, you compromise. You have to make sure your schedules are complementary and you work together. Sometimes you give a little bit more in this area so they can give a little more in that area, and everybody works together as a team. But when you are sitting here demanding something like that and speaking down to her, and then she honors that, it teaches him that doing that is okay. I didn't like that, and I didn't like his behavior. All of it was gross, and I love that Tasha came in and was like, oh, he'll be fine. But also, Tasha was also trying to control Chardonnay because Chardonnay was the new Kelly. Chardonnay had enough, and she had to tell both of them, I'm not Kelly. I'm not your whipping stick, and I'm not your shadow and your sidekick. I'm me. Y'all need to respect me for who I am. And I completely agreed with her. They finally found common ground. Chardonnay bonded with Brittany. She was the reason Brittany was considering college. She helped Brittany to get into college. She got into FAMU, which is actually Chardonnay's alma mater. So clearly Chardonnay was integrated into the family and they had built a very good life. So Jason asks Chardonnay to marry him again in a real wedding so they can declare to the world that they're really together. At the wedding, he looks at Chardonnay and he says, I can't do this. I'm still in love with Kelly. It completely catches Kelly by surprise. Now, I'll say this too. Kelly acted surprised, but girl, how you acted with Chardonnay when you first came back around and trying to make her feel left out, I don't feel like any of this was by accident. I feel like all of it was by design, and she was playing the victim. She was doing all the right, like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But you knew what you were doing when you came back around.
Jason didn't pay him off.
This is none of your business.
I did. I paid off Ty.
You what?
But Jason's business will always be my business.
Oh.
As long as I am the mother of his child. I have to protect the legacy of my family.
Oh.
Come on, let's go.
No, I'm about to get another O in, Mama. Come on.
You should probably go.
Don't mind me. I'm just being redundant.
Baby, no, you're good.
Now, I'll say this though. If I were Chardonnay, I would want Kelly around as well. Because if your presence jeopardizes my relationship, that's a relationship that don't need to be. The stability of my relationship should not hinge upon someone's absence or their presence. You should be good one way or the other. If you're into me, you're into me, whether or not your ex is present or not. So if my partner had an ex or another woman who couldn't be around, or I was going to worry that he was going to leave me, I want her around all the time because I need to see what you're going to do before I waste my time. Go be with her then. If I ever have to consider someone else when it comes to my partner, I don't need to be with that person. Because at the end of the day, it's either me and you or it's nothing. Do whatever you want to do, just don't waste my time. So I do understand Chardonnay wanting Kelly there. It made a statement that they were a blended family and blah, blah, blah. But also, if I have to hide you away in order to keep my man, I don't need to keep my man because I don't need to be doing all that. He needs to be with me because he wants to be, not because you're not here. So anyway, Chardonnay leaves. She dips out. Jason is shocked by this admission. He said he just got caught up in the moment and it's not really how he felt. But then later he admitted it was how he felt. He really wanted to be with Kelly. And they eventually get back together. Chardonnay takes it very hard because she feels like essentially he was never there for her. He was never in love with her for real, and that she was a stand-in. And I'm going to be honest, the show doesn't do a great job of showing that Jason really did love Chardonnay. It did look like she was a stand-in, that he was just ready to have a secure home base and somebody to watch Brittany. And that was really it. She was a stand-in wife until Kelly came back. Now, what I will say is you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Because Jason and Kelly, the ending to their story, the way the show ended in season 9 with the two of them, Chardonnay, you dodged a bullet. So I'm going to fast forward. At the end of season 9, which is the end of the original season before it went over to Paramount and became a whole different type of show with a whole different Brittany this time. At the end of season 9, Jason and Kelly are back together. They've gotten remarried, and Jason is now the head coach for the Sabers. Now, at one point, he's the interim head coach, so he's worried about his job. The Sabers owner, Roger, ends up making a racist remark. He gets ousted. The league basically tells him either you can step down as the team owner or we're going to oust you and it's going to look bad on you. So he steps down in a very funny way.
I regret this comment deeply and I apologize if it was taken out of context.
Context, do you refer to your players as slaves? That wouldn't be offensive. Would you consider yourself a racist?
Okay. Now I'm offended. You all can go to hell. Thank you very much.
Now the ownership of the team is up in the air. So Kelly and Jason decide to pool their money with some other investors and try to buy the team. So they go get the old GM of the team. And then Kelly brings in a man who she said, I have some money connections. Let me bring him in. And so she brings in this old man. He makes it very clear that he and Kelly used to sleep together. He is a very, very old man. So then Kelly admits to Jason that they used to sleep together. Jason disbands the group because he doesn't want to work with this person who slept with Kelly. The man was being very disrespectful and Kelly was just sitting there allowing it. The whole thing was icky and it took me back season 2 finale when Jason was pimping her out. It felt so weird and reminiscent of that. So then this man leaves. He ends up just buying the team on his own. She said she had money connections and she really did. He bought it by himself. So instead of being Jason and Kelly's investment partner, he is now Jason's boss. Jason is the interim head coach. It's not his job yet because the old head coach has now recovered from his heart attack. So Jason panics. He goes to the new owner and he basically says, hey, I want to still be the coach of the team, blah, blah, blah. What do I have to do? And the new owner, Kelly's ex, tells him, I want you to let me sleep with your wife. Jason says no. They actually have a back and forth and it was very weird. And I feel like they were playing on what happened with the old GM, but I'm like, that's nothing to be played with. Anyway, Jason says no, reluctantly. The new owner says, okay, well, just let me watch. So we go a couple of episodes closing out everyone else's storyline. And then in the series finale, we see that Jason and Kelly let this man watch them have sex in a Little Red Riding Hood and a Big Bad Wolf costume in order for Jason to secure the job as the team's head coach. He does, and then he gets his Super Bowl ring. Another one. They pimped themselves out. That's how their story ended. And I said, girl, you came back to this man and he did the same thing again. At least this time you were part of the decision, but is that much better? I mean, she consented to it this time, so that does make all the difference. But also, girls, that's really how you want to be living? And Jason, you that desperate for this ring? Child. Anyway, I'm sorry. They lost me with that. I was so happy for Chardonnay that she was not part of that whole thing. Also, Chardonnay ends up leaving. She's growing her spa. She's an independent woman who's growing her spa. She and Brittany stay very close, and Brittany really loves her, and she really loves Brittany, which is so funny because not a lot of people show a lot of love for Brittany. They all kind of treat her like she's annoying, and it does bother me after a while. Like they just show no concern for her. And I can tell you, once you go from cute to coming into your own womanhood, a lot of people, especially a lot of young girls, have that experience where the people in their life start to become hostile towards them. And that's a whole nother conversation. I just didn't like that. I understand they were trying to show Brittany as like being sassy and spoiled and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, you raised her. So change what you're doing. Change the method. Work with her to change. Like work with her to grow and evolve. Like don't be an asshole to her. She's a kid. Anyway, I didn't like how the show handled Brittany's character. I like the new actress, but I still would have preferred the old actress to reprise her role so that it would have stayed consistent. Chardonnay built her spa up and grew her spa. She also dated the former GM, but they broke up. She decided to just focus on her work. And so she went on and had a great life. She and Jason had kind of a tumultuous divorce because she took it very hard. The way he broke up with her, the way he treated her, he embarrassed her in front of everyone she knew. I also would have taken that very hard, but he embarrassed her. He disrespected her. He hurt her feelings. And overall, he just lied to her. He had told her all this time there was nothing to worry about with Kelly. And now at my wedding is when you decide to tell me this shit. You couldn't have texted me before I walked down this aisle. I'm pretty sure it's the way she walked down the aisle was when he made his decision, because that would have did it for me too, Jason. I'm not. Jason and Chardonnay were incompatible from the very beginning. I feel like Chardonnay made Jason better because she was a great influence on him. And I feel like Jason was very helpful for Chardonnay because he helped her to reach her goals. I think from that aspect, their relationship makes a lot of sense, and I'm glad they both walked away better people.
The connection between Brittany and Chardonnay is one of my favorite parts of the show, and I wish that they had honed in on that a little more. It took Chardonnay a while to get Brittany to open up and peel back layers of herself, and that's because Brittany was very guarded. She was dismissed and disposed of as an attitudinal teenager who's just spoiled, rotten, blah, 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 but really what it was a young Black girl coming into her own, and the world was rejecting her for the first time in her life, and she didn't have the support system around her to help her evolve through that. Chardonnay is a woman, a young Black woman, who had experienced that. And she was able to see Brittany for who she was, not the labels other people had applied to her. Not only that, I do think it's interesting. I don't know if there's a reason for this, but I do think it's interesting that Brandy Norwood played Moesha, one of the best coming of age shows for a young Black girl. And then now Moesha essentially is helping to guide Brittany from a safe space. I just thought that was so cute.
What sucks is that when Jason remarried Kelly and they started having a life together, he completely regressed and he went right back to being who he was before. I was like, you did all that for nothing. If the only benefit was getting Chardonnay her store or her salon, I'm actually okay with that. I'm fine with it. But I can tell you this, I damn sure would have been mad if I was Kelly. I'm coming back and y'all living lavish. You done bought this woman a store. You taking care of her. You doing all this stuff. Like, I couldn't even get fruit from the store. You tried to make me grow a garden. I couldn't even get an apple. Jason was a toxic partner. I loved seeing those moments of growth with Chardonnay. What I don't necessarily care for is if you zoom out, it kind of just looks like this Black man went to be with a Black woman to become a better man to go back to his white wife. It's just a weird narrative. And I try not to look at it that way, but that's how it looked. It almost looked like, okay, hey, I need to go to husband boot camp with you so I can get it all out of my system, all the bad husbandry. And then I'm going to go back to my white wife. But then when you see how their story ends, it's like, oh no, he was just going to be a shitty husband regardless. And it's just about who was going to tolerate it. We don't see big moments of evolution from Jason once Chardonnay is out of the picture or they're no longer crossing paths. It's just weird. I loved Brandy as Chardonnay. I'm really glad they didn't eventually have a baby because could you imagine being married and having a baby with someone who then just says, oh, you know what? I actually want to go back to my original family. See ya. Oh, hell no. So I'm glad she was able to walk away without any kind of lasting scars. She was able to move on with her life and live her best life. And she was better after the marriage than she was before financially. So there was some gain. I guess he was worth the trouble. He wasn't any worse than those people that used to sit at her bar. So I guess I'll just look at it as she really gave the client a one-on-one experience that lasted 2 years. The only perfect match was Chardonnay and Brittany. It was rocky at first, but it ended up having a wonderful impact on Brittany, and it really opened up her world as far as her new life. She decided to go to college. She decided to pursue goals and dreams. People stopped doubting her, and it's because Chardonnay saw the best in her. If that was the only benefit to all of this, Chardonnay gets her salon and Brittany gets someone who actually cares about her, I guess it's a win. Anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this little tandem. Someone left me a comment that said they did not like the way Kelly and Jason did Chardonnay, and I cannot agree more. I feel like the whole time they were playing in her face, and it drives me crazy. Chardonnay just seemed like such a nice, well-meaning character, and you don't get that many of them on the game where, sure, they have flaws, but you don't get that many well-intentioned characters on the game. Everybody has a downside, as we've discussed. Chardonnay just seemed like she really just wanted a happy life, and she was doing all she could to show up in the lives of the people she loved in the best way possible. Jason was an ass. Kelly was an ass. Even though Kelly tried to feign victimhood and act like she didn't know, girl, it's passive aggressiveness, and y'all know how I feel about that. Brittany deserved the type of stepmom that Chardonnay was to her, and Chardonnay deserved the relationship she ended up having with Brittany and the salon she got. Win-win for them, and then Kelly and Jason ended up being prostitutes. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Next week, I'm finally getting to the breakdown that I have been waiting on. My favorite male character of the show, Malik Wright, played by Hosea Chanchez. I cannot wait to do this video. Y'all let me know your thoughts on the problem with the Pitts part 2, and I will see y'all next time. Bye.
up in the club and it's time to floss. Dance, dance, dance. Unless Mulatto knows who's the boss in my dance, dance, dance. Dip and piss and dip and piss and dip and piss and dip and piss and dip and piss. On your right,
And dip. No, don't shut the music off. We're just getting ready to have some fun. Okay? We're gonna. No? Oh, no, actually, I was gonna pass these out as an encore, but no. Okay. About the city championship.